Weekly. Again, graced with the presence of Robert and Christopher. Welcome, guys.
How's it going? How's the week been?
It's a welcome to you, Nick.
Yeah, welcome to you, Nick. You're the star of the show, okay? This is the Nick show.
I feel like part of the team because I just raced upstairs to go get my Team Liquid shirt so that I could fit in with the club. So, here we go.
Hey, this is sponsored by Nick.
This is not.
Yeah, so I feel like we've got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. The Gauntlet happened, and boy, was that fun.
I don't want to talk about it.
It was very fun.
I think we should start off talking about. Let's go right into how we fared with our predictions.
All of us did terribly. I'm pretty sure that's how our predictions went. We all thought CLG would be the eventual winner, and that was not the case. So I don't think there's a singular winner of our predictions.
We all lost together.
I think we're all just losers together. Yes,
that's fair.
Yeah, probably.
I do remember saying, and I think you joined me in this, that whoever won the second game was gonna probably beat TSM. I think we all predicted that. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we all said that. Somebody went on a lengthy discussion of why TSM might surprise us, but then picked CLG. So I give that person credit. I give that person credit. Wow, look, I'm getting cut off right here. I'm about to compliment somebody, and you know what? I forgot what I was gonna say with my compliment. All so we'll just.
I can just hang up on both of you and do the podcast alone. So let's keep it civil here. Yeah, so let's start back at the beginning. Their first game, FlyQuest versus Clutch Gaming. Thoughts?
I think it's what we expected. FlyQuest pulled off one little whatever of a game. I mean, they were a little better than I thought they would be. I will say that. But it just came down to the fact that they were just overwhelmed by the talent that Clutch had. I think it's that simple.
Yeah.
I said coming into this that I thought FlyQuest was going to be the biggest wild card in all this because they had so much time off.
Mm-hmm.
They had opportunities to win. We'll say that, right? Like there were multiple games where they won one game. There were other games where they could have won, and they just weren't able to pull it out. And I think they made progress from where they were at the end of the summer split, but it wasn't enough to get them over the hump and take out Clutch Gaming. So it'll be interesting. FlyQuest is one of the most interesting teams to look at moving into the off season because they're a team full of veteran players. Granted, they have Viper in the top lane and Wadid is joining them in the support role. But I'm very curious to see
Big Chris. Rob, just refreshing.
Rob, welcome back. But I'm very curious to see what they do in the off season because I could see it going a lot of different ways. If you think that your issue was macro game, if you think that this roster really had the potential to be a top tier roster, there's an argument to be made for that.
Is there though?
I mean, I think the roster's better talent-wise than the roster that finished fourth. They just can't seem to put it together. I think Wadid is an upgrade, and I think Viper will only get better over time. But is that good enough?
But their problem isn't there, and their problem's not Santorin. Pobelter and Wild Turtle are constantly outclassed.
Wild Turtle didn't have a bad series.
I will say that I like both Pobelter and Wild Turtle, but I think they both do better as like the secondary carry. If they have somebody else that can really pop off and be a threat, then they can do well and put out damage in those team fights and all that. So having two players like that, I think that's what hindered them. They weren't terrible. They're good players. They know what they're doing, but I think they both are kind of best as that secondary role. And then, if Viper isn't completely popping off and doing his carry thing at the top, then it just doesn't work for him. So that's at least my take on it.
If you took away that game 3, which was kind of a pub stomp, right? Wild Turtle was 13-2 and 9 for the series. Like he actually, it wasn't on him. Like he played decently, he got the kills. It's just I just don't think. Like I said, I thought they showed improvement from where they were at the end of the summer split. And granted, that bar was very low because they finished ninth. But but it just wasn't enough improvement. I think if you had taken the way that they played in that series like a fringe playoff team. To me, like I would say that they played like a 6th place team, maybe a little bit better.
A team that did not prepare for them intentionally.
Oh, for sure.
I think that a major change made the line. But I think everybody else should be up for discussion. Free agent lists, like right here and whatnot. Go over this during the off season. I know I'll probably be writing some pieces about it at some point during the off season. Full on spreadsheet for the LCS and the LEC. Some LCK and LPL players on there who maybe they'll sign somewhere. But like when you look at FlyQuest for 2020, if you take out anything below the jungle, you can make a better roster. You absolutely can. And I think Wild Turtle's going to retire.
Really? I think he's still got a lot left in the tank.
I don't think it's that he doesn't have enough left in the tank. I just think he's more interested in content creation now.
We'll see. I think Turtle still has a place in the LCS.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he's not even that old comparatively. It's just that I haven't seen him getting better.
We had this whole sneaky Turtle discussion in our last episode, right? Like, I think Turtle, out of all the players in the series, I thought Turtle was probably the best performer for FlyQuest.
Yeah.
But the only game they won, I thought, was because of Santorin.
But, I mean, it doesn't mean that he didn't have a good series.
Yeah, just overall. So I want to take it in a little bit different direction. Because I was thinking about this. So FlyQuest were here in the Gauntlet not because of their performance in the summer, but their performance in the spring. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, that being said, with how much things can change and how a team like FlyQuest can go from having a good spring split to a pretty bad summer split, do you think that is a good system because it rewards the performance in the spring split? Or do you think that it waters things down because, hey, it might have been a more exciting and, potentially better Gauntlet if we had a top team from this split? Because, yeah, FlyQuest played well. It's not specifically about this series, but just in general, if we're getting a 8th or 9th place team in the Gauntlet for the current split, it kind of waters things down. And so I guess I don't really know how I stand on it because I see the merits of both sides, and I didn't know if you two had opinions.
I think they need to restructure the point system to a certain degree, but at the same time, I think the problem more is that we see the inconsistencies with the LCS as a whole, and truly it should be overall record. I think they should have a spring split finals. That's fine, but I think their record should carry over. I think that would be a better system, and then you let them play it out. Like if FlyQuest doesn't end up finishing in 6th or whatever to make playoffs, then so be it. And then what you do is you have your spring split, you have your summer split, right? And then after that, you take your top 2 teams, they get to go to Worlds, and then you have your next 4 battle it out. You have an overall record. It makes it easy. Nobody complains. I think it's a better system. but I don't know. It seems like Rito sometimes forgets that things can be a lot simpler than some weird point system that nobody cares about.
Yeah, and I like that solution because the issue is that you want the best teams in the gauntlet, but then you don't want to really take any relevance away from the spring. Because if it's just who ends the summer split well, then, there's less importance on the spring. And so, an aggregate score like that, I think, would kind of help solve that dilemma. Because, yeah, I mean, I think it's great. They did well in the spring, and so you're like, yeah, they deserve that. But, would we have seen a better team either, that challenges Clutch more or even beating Clutch and then going through and creating a better, team that we send to Worlds? Maybe. And, maybe in other years, I'm not at all sad that Clutch is going, but I just think in general, we want to be setting the best teams. That's what the Gauntlet is for. And so if we're throwing a couple teams in there that haven't been doing well recently, it definitely tanks it.
I think that first off, I like Rob's idea of the overall record, but if you're going to keep it in the way that it currently is, I think you have to create a higher value on summer finishes than there currently is. Because right now, I mean, TSM and FlyQuest basically rode their spring finish to their positioning in the gauntlet, right? And to me, I would have thought it would have been more exciting to me, or it would have felt more worthy or deserving if the final stage of the gauntlet had actually been CLG versus Clutch Gaming rather than TSM sitting there. And I know TSM finished second, but Clutch Gaming finished third in the summer split, right? So I'm guessing I don't know how you fix that, right? But I would like to see more weight placed on the summer split finish relative to the spring split finish than what there currently is, if you decide to keep your current system, right? Because right now there's like barely a difference. It's like a few point difference in the finishes between the two of them. Whereas to me, I'm like, maybe it's 2-1. Like you get twice as many points for your summer split finish as you did for your spring split finish. So the spring still matters, but the summer, when the end of the year's coming up, leading up to the World Championships, that's where the weight of the results really lie. And I mean, maybe you have some type of hybrid system where you still get points for how you finished, in the spring split, and you also get more points for your overall record at the end of the summer split. I don't know. I don't know what the best solution is at this point. I know minor league baseball kind of has a system, or at least the Midwest League, where around where I live, where like the first half finishers automatically make the playoffs, and the second half finishers automatically, it's a weird system or whatever, right? So I'm guessing that's kind of the idea to where League of Legends systems came from, and I guess the main emphasis is to try to make sure that spring split feels important. But I don't know. I just think summer should have, at the very least, should have a higher weight than what the spring split has.
Yeah, because in reality, this is not baseball. This is a game that patches every 2 weeks, and things change. And even if the teams are all playing the same, a team could be really good and then really bad, just depending on how the game trends. So I think there is a lot more change. I think we see a lot of teams that, fluctuate between different patches or different splits or whatever it might be. And that's why the teams that are consistent stick out to us. The G2, the SKT, teams that can consistently win, Team Liquid, that means a lot because they're winning on different patches. They're winning in different metas. And so when you're bringing up a topic like this, where it's like, yeah, you're trying to send the best team currently, just because they did well in spring doesn't mean they're going to do anything in the summer. So yeah, I would like to see them address that and, not throw out spring completely, but maybe an aggregate system, maybe weighing them differently. I think that will kind of create both an urgency in the spring still, but then actually be able to send the best teams to Worlds.
Sorry, guys. I agree. I have something to add here in just a minute. I'm just totaling up what the teams did.
Oh, he's doing math.
Yeah. I'm being a nerd. I'm doing.
Well, while Rob's adding up things, we can come back to this discussion. Do we want to move on to the Clutch CLG discussion and take a look at that series as a whole?
Yeah.
I'm almost done. If that.
Okay.
I'll be done here in about 30 seconds if you guys can fill that much time.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I
guess Nick, if you could redo the gauntlet, how would it look? Who would be 3, 4, 5, and 6?
I mean, I think FlyQuest is really the only one I had a problem with. Insofar as they really kind of tanked this. I think TSM, they weren't really up to being one of the top teams, but they were fine. They were good. Maybe throw Golden Guardians in there. I feel like the season was so long ago.
But did Golden Guardians make the playoffs on either? They made the playoffs in the spring, right?
Yeah, but they didn't in the. They missed it by a tiebreaker.
They lost the tiebreaker.
Oh, they were all in the tiebreakers.
Yeah. I think the only argument you can be made is whether Optic Gaming or FlyQuest deserved to be in the gauntlet. Right?
Well, that's why I didn't say Optic, because true, it was all within the split, but they again started really strong and then really fell off, and so.
I guess in my mind, even though I say that more weight should be placed on summers than spring, a 4th place finish to me is better than a 5th in the spring, is better than a 5th, 6th place finish in the summer.
So,
I like.
Oh,
go ahead.
Sorry, no, you go. Sorry, I thought that was a good spot to jump in, but I don't think it is.
You jump in, Rob. You take it.
So the craziest thing is there were only 4 teams all year. Overall. First place TL at 28-8, Cloud9 at 26-10, TSM at 23-13, and CLG at 19-17. After that, it goes 5th place to Golden Guardians at 17-19, 6th to Optic 15-21, 7th to Clutch at 14-22, 8th to FlyQuest at 14-22. I thought Clutch is better, so I just put them above them. And then another tie at the bottom with 100 Thieves at 12-24, and Echo Fox rounding it out at 12-24. Now, if you ask me, I think that this would be a fair system, because then you have TL and C9 going. You still are rewarding TSM because, okay, so what? They weren't as good as CLG and Clutch Gaming at the end. But overall, if you're rewarding consistency, which is what the Gauntlet should be about, that puts them at 3. That puts CLG at 4. Golden Guardians at 5, and Optic at 6.
So you think Clutch shouldn't be in there at all?
I mean, they went 5-13. They finished 9th. They were really bad in that first half. You have to be. I think it's. I love redemption stories, and I think there are a place for them, and there are things that you can do. And had they made playoffs, right? If they were a top 6 team and had made playoffs, then yeah, I think they should have a chance. But we got to remember they only went 9-9 in summer, right? Like that's not like you're not showing me anything. They put it together during the playoffs and beyond, and that's great. But at the same time, can we credit that maybe to partially a meta shift? Can we credit that to a couple different things potentially? And I think that taking it away from teams like Golden Guardians or even Optic, who played well throughout the season, I think that's a much more deserving and better system overall, if you ask me. Not that Clutch shouldn't be there, because they still had to win, right? And they still played well. But at the same time, they sucked really bad, and they're not. And to be honest, there's no repercussions other than they had to run through the gauntlet for it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my issue with that system in general, while I think something like that would be better, is that puts Clutch and FlyQuest at the same level. And to me, we saw that that's not accurate at the current moment at all. And I think the Gauntlet, since it is going, prepping for Worlds, it's about who's hot right now. That's who we want to send to Worlds.
I totally disagree with that. You should be rewarded for being able to be consistent. Like I don't think that's.
I see value in both sides. Like I get Rob's point, right? Like because the meta shifts so often within a season, right? Like you should be able to.
I thought that was the argument that Nick just made, wasn't it?
Well, Nick's argument is based on what the current meta is, right? At what your current level, current power level per se of your team is, based on how well you're playing together, how well your team style fits what the meta is. Whereas you, on your overall, whole year record, right? That's how well did you adapt over the whole year.
And what's the point of playing a full season? Like, then there's no point. Then it should be one split in the summer or something like that.
It's basically 2 mini seasons, right? And that's kind of the way that they structure it. They don't structure it as one whole season.
But the thing is that your determination on what happens in each mini season is what determines whether or not you get to make it to Worlds, which is the ultimate goal. So if you're going to say that spring still counts for something, I don't think you can discredit this potential system.
Mm-hmm. But that's my argument. Riot works around that too, because they'll drop major patches around competitive league seasons as well, though.
Yeah, but they also changed the patches right before Worlds, so you could have,
which I've always hated.
Which I think is stupid. But like my point about that is what if Team Liquid all of a sudden are total garbage?
They could. Right? They could.
And then Echo Fox are gods on it. Like I don't think that it's a good argument to make that just because they're hot because of a patch means that they're the better team. It just means that they adapted better one time, and that's really what happened with Echo Fox.
I think that TSM has been victimized by the whole patching before Worlds in the past. Like they don't fit. You could have something that totally changes the meta that drops, and it can make your best teams look like mediocre, right?
Yeah,
but. I don't know. Like I said, I feel like there's merit to both systems. To me, the compromise is that you keep a value to both of them, but you do a heavier weight onto your summer split finishes.
But see, I just still don't understand, and I've never really understood why that should matter. Like, I understand that the game's built around patches, but it's just like it makes the season, it makes spring always feel totally worthless.
Yeah. I feel that.
Like what I think a better potential system, if they wanted to keep it this way, is what they should do, in my opinion. Okay, hear me out on this. Winner of spring split, automatic qualifier for Worlds. Winner of summer split, automatic qualifier for Worlds. If it's the same team, then it goes by points. Second place, they get to be the second team at Worlds. The rest play it out for Gauntlet. And you keep the point system the same for both splits.
Mm-hmm.
That would make it way more even.
I don't feel like spring split is not meaningful. Like, look at last year for the LCS. 100 Thieves got to the World Championships essentially based on their spring split finish, number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't say that it's not a meaningful split if 100 Thieves, and nobody would have said 100 Thieves was the second best team going into the World Championships.
Yeah, but again,
they were there as the number 2 seed.
What I'm saying is, if you stay with it, I still think it's a flawed system either way. I seriously think playing the full season and then having it at the end of the year based off of what the actual, like, they want to just make it so that the spring split finals are something for people to play for. It's the same problem Overwatch League has had with their stages. This is kind of what the argument feels like for me. But, like, they've got to realize that by not doing an overall record, while, yes, like, it does still count, it doesn't feel like the best system to send our best 3 teams, ever. Like, have we ever not sat there and been like, I don't know if these are our 3 best teams.
Do you think the 3 best teams are going right now?
I actually think CLG's better. I think Clutch just hit a really good hot streak and have a good meta for their champion.
Overall, in their last 2 best of 5s that they've played, Clutch Gaming's 5-4.
That's fine. But what I'm telling you,
so I mean, the argument can be made that Clutch Gaming's actually the better team. In my mind, I think Clutch Gaming is the better team than CLG.
I could go either way on those 2 teams. I'm not.
I think they're very close, but I think at the end of the day, and honestly, I think Clutch Gaming choked hard at Detroit.
Yeah, with how with how things are going this season, I think this is the most confident that I've been in recent years that it's the top 3 teams.
I don't think I would switch any of if I had to pick the 3 best teams from the LCS, I don't think I would switch any of them.
But even after playoffs, like none of us would have said that was the case. I think there's an advantage to making it past the first round in Gauntlet because you've gotten to play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a new patch that they're on again, and they're having to play new stuff. I think that there's something to be said, and I think there's a reason why we see this too. Teams that play in groups from EU and from NA always do better because they've had more time to play on stage with the meta.
Mm-hmm.
I truly think the problem right now is that whether or not Clutch deserved to go, they more, I think, made it because of a meta shift and because of one singular move that they made.
I think to your point,
I support the second one, not as much the first one.
I think to your point, we've talked about riding the hotter team heading in. Should the hottest team in the league be going to the World Championships, and how you finished, how important that is, right? We talk about World Championships, right, and how the third seeds have done well for both the LEC and the LCS, and that's because they've been the hot team, right? It's been the Cloud9s, it's been the G2s, it's been the teams that finished strong, maybe didn't have the best spring split, right? Or maybe stumbled at one point like Cloud9 didn't last year. But by the time they got to the World Championships, they were probably the second best team. I mean, nobody would have argued that Cloud9 was a better team heading into the World Championships than 100 Thieves was.
I think we made that argument.
Really?
I thought Cloud9, once they got it all put together, I was almost certain because of the insecurity. Like 100 Thieves wasn't even the same team.
That's what I'm saying. Cloud9 was better. I'm saying, no. I'm saying even though 100 Thieves was the number 2 seed, Cloud9 was the 3.
They were the third best team.
Yeah,
I don't even think they were the third best team.
I don't even think they were the third best team either. They finished what, 4th in the summer split?
Something like that. But they didn't even make it to where was it? I think it was Miami. I don't think they even made it to Miami.
No, Miami was spring.
No, Miami was spring. It was Oakland. They weren't at Oakland.
Let's look here. I'm doing my research. Yeah, they got beat 3-2 by TSM in the 3rd place match.
Okay.
So multiple people were like, I thought TSM was probably the 3rd best team last year, and they didn't even get to go, and 100 Thieves went to, right? And then right, but I don't have the records in front of me, so that's I can't tell you. But your idea of like your overall split and how everybody finished, right? I think 100 Thieves had a better record. Oh yeah, because they finished 3rd in the record in the summer standings, and TSM finished 5th.
Then you still have playoffs, and then how that plays out is how it goes, right? So like you have your spring split, playoffs for fun or whatever they want to do, and then you have an end of the year playoffs where the team that wins is the 1 seed. The team that's runner-up is the 2 seed, and then the gauntlet goes by 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. And you have a 5th and 6th place game, and you have a 3rd and 4th place game, right? And then that lines up what the gauntlet is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is extremely fair, especially for both ways. Because
so who would have been the number 2 seed? Because Team Liquid won both splits last season.
It would be still Cloud9. They went 26-10. They're 3 games up.
But I mean, I'm talking about last year. Because last year, I feel like
last year would have been TSM.
Why?
Well, let me look at it here. So
Team Liquid beat 100 Thieves 3-0 in the spring split, and then they beat Cloud9 3-0 in the summer split.
So it was wait. So last year, if we go by record,
then 100 Thieves had a better record than Cloud9 did.
Yeah, Cloud9 would have been the 5 seed. But I'm saying about like playing through the playoffs and stuff.
But this is what I'm saying. This is where it gets messy, right? Because if you go by overall record, actually Echo Fox and 100 Thieves had pretty much the same record.
Yeah,
last
but that's
year.
only the season. That's not the okay. You're missing my point. The overall record matters for the playoffs that are at the end of the season, and then what the results of the playoffs are what matters for seedings, right? So
who would have been the 2 seed
last year? It would have been TL because they won the summer split. Then C9 would have been 2.
Why is C9 2?
Because they played TL in the finals.
So if you don't win the spring split, then whoever is the summer finalist, that person automatically gets the 2nd seed.
So the only thing that would have been different is in last season's, from what I can see, is Clutch Gaming would have actually been the 6th seed instead of FlyQuest during the summer. Okay, that's the only thing. So I'm looking at it right now on Gamepedia. So
no, because so here's in my mind, right? Like
you're confusing me.
Yeah, no, I think we're both like on different pages here.
I'm just so happy that I asked this question.
No, because so to me, if you had talked about a system where the spring split person automatically qualified for Worlds, right?
No, I said that was if they were keeping it in the same format that they were now.
Oh, okay. No, if you go,
that gets rid of it. My thing is purely overall record. The spring split final is more for just fun.
So how you finished in the spring playoffs don't mean anything.
No, it's your spring split record and your summer split record.
Okay, so the spring split playoffs mean at this, honestly, there's no point in even having them, right?
It's
other than to determine MSI.
Well, and maybe that's all they should determine.
I mean, honestly, at that point, though, like, you take a lot of the oomph out of...
But you're still having... I get what you're saying, but you're still having an issue with the fact that you're still not normally sending the best 3 teams to Worlds.
Like, it's...
Worlds is what matters. I think here's the deal, right? For me, it's MSI is baby Worlds, right? Everybody agrees on that. Mm-hmm. I think if you're telling me that playing for MSI isn't worth it, then what's the point of having 2 splits at all? They should just have 1 long season.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? Like, if you might as well do 1 long season if you want to go by overall record, because spring split doesn't mean jack unless you finish first. Finishing second doesn't do anything for you. And honestly, finishing first really, even if you, because there's a playoff system, right? Finishing first and having the 4th best record, right? So, like, We'll look at spring 2018, right? Where Team Liquid had the 4th best. They finished 4th in the standings, right? But then they ran the playoff run and they ended up winning the championship, right? Them finishing first means zip, 0, nada for the World Championships.
I mean, only in 1 playoff system.
So,
but that's what I'm saying, right? The fact that they won the spring playoffs and went to MSI means nothing for them for Worlds, because you're dealing with an overall record system.
But you're still going. I mean, but like, you're still like, what does it matter for? What does Worlds matter then, right? MSI is just
that's what, honestly, the MSI is just a for fun event. It really depends on how you look at the events, right? Because people talk about MSI like
Worlds. Worlds is technically, it's the same thing. It's just at different points in the
Worlds
year.
is supposed to be this pedestal event, right? Where it's supposed to be the most important one. MSI is just this MSI only means something if you won it. If you lost it, if you're the Chinese, it doesn't matter.
I don't know that I agree. I think we have a different. Here's what I'm gonna say. This is, I guess, we'll end it here for at least for my part, and then if you guys want to go back and forth, feel free. For me, here's what makes sense. You play spring split. You play for MSI playoffs because that does matter, right? You're getting international experience. You're getting fame and potentially fortune, right?
I mean, look at how big everybody is on G2 winning MSI. I think that's evidence that it matters.
Exactly. And then you play the summer to set up the rest of your playoffs for what matters. Because again, there's only one difference in the last 2 years well, this year was definitely a lot different for what ended up being in the Gauntlet. But that said, I think last year there was only one difference, which it was just Clutch should have been in over Fly technically. But like, even still, I think we would have gotten, with this method, we would have gotten the 3 best teams. It would have been TL, C9, and TSM last year had we used this method.
What about this year?
This year, it would have been TL, C9, and CLG, which I don't think any of us would be arguing that hard the opposite way. I get that Clutch is good. I actually think that Clutch is going to be in trouble because I think TSM showed a lot. I think if TSM has a good jungler in that matchup, I think they 3-0. I was not confident in that. You guys know that. I even said it. But I think we saw that Clutch can be beaten very easily if things are banned out correctly, which I still don't understand why for 3 games Zix and company could not ban out the right things for 3 straight games.
Yeah.
You just ban out the same stuff you did the first 2 games, but that's neither here nor there because I do think that there are ways to beat Clutch. And I think that CLG is able to not just get totally beat before the game even gets started. Clutch can get beat before the game gets started. And I think that's a huge difference.
My final thoughts on this whole thing, the way that it's... Listen, I understand if you want to make the spring split or the middle of the season just an MSI playoff thing, right? Like to determine who's our representative for MSI, right? I think you need to cut down the playoffs. Maybe it's a 4-team playoff, maybe it's a 2-team playoff, right?
I think 4 makes a lot of sense.
Right. Just so if that's the way you want to go about it, then you got to make changes to it. It doesn't make sense to have a 16 playoff if you're just trying to decide who's going to MSI.
I think 4, and then you do 2. You do the first 2 games or 2 sets in at the LCS, and then you go somewhere else.
I think the split here is like a traditional sports background versus an esports background, right? In esports, a lot of the major titles have systems where they have majors or multiple different events that go throughout the year that they try to place importance on. And
they also don't have franchising.
Right. Well, that's true, but that's kind of the historical background of it, right? Like IEMs or CS:GO has, they all have their majors or big events that they have throughout the year that all lead up to kind of the world championships or whatever, right? And League of Legends in a way has this hybrid system where it's kind of like traditional sports where they only have one middle of the pack, one mid-season event, right? But they also try to have this hugely important event at the end of the year, right? So I think League of Legends is kind of caught in between the two of them. I'm fine with it either way, but I think I come from a traditional sports background, like I think Rob does, right? Where like we're used to there's the playoffs once a year at the end of the year, and it's based on how your record was over the whole year that you got into the playoffs. I disagree that. I really do think Clutch was, after watching the Gauntlet and seeing their performance and understanding how they performed in Detroit, I think Clutch is the 3rd best team. I think it's very close between them and CLG, and even TSM put up a good fight at the end, right? But I can say confidently, I think that Clutch deserves to be the 3rd seed at the World Championships for the LCS. And I'm actually excited about it because I think what I like about Clutch is that they're a little bit different and they have this style that can trip teams up, right? I like to see a 3rd team who's dangerous. They might not be the most well-rounded team, but what they do well. And I think that's exciting. I think that's kind of the edgy 3rd team that you want to see, right? Maybe your first 2 teams are a little bit more balanced, a little bit more well-rounded, but then you got this like wild card 3rd team out there, right? You don't know what you're going to get with them, right? Clutch could do really well. The meta could shift in a way where Clutch is just destroying people, right? So I think they're exciting. They're the type of team that could either do really well or they could flop really hard. when they get to the World Championships, and I think that's perfect for a third seed. I want an unpredictable third seed. I want an exciting world seed. I really am not pinning the hopes of the LCS on Clutch Gaming, right? So why not have something exciting? And to me, I think that's perfect. I think, to your point, Rob, that CLG is probably the more consistent and more well-rounded team, right? But I'm okay with with Clutch Gaming not being the most well-rounded team because I think they're kind of a riskier team, right? And sometimes the risk pays off. So I'm 100% cool. I think Clutch Gaming deserves to be the third seed at the World Championships. I'm excited to see what they do at the World Championships. And I think it'll be fun to have them there from the LCS. Nobody expects them to do well at the World. Zero. Nobody expects them to do well, right? They're kind of this, like I said, they're unpredictable, they're edgy, they're wild. They have a certain play style that they do well. Everybody knows what's coming, but people can't stop it anyways. You know what their best champions are, but you don't ban them anyways, right? Like I think they're fun. I think they're exciting, and I'm really happy that Clutch Gaming actually got to be the third seed. After all this went through, I'm more happy to see Clutch there than I think I would have been to see CLG there.
Okay.
So
I was gonna say, what are you thinking of all this?
again, super glad I asked that question because that was crazy. I do think that with all the nuances we discovered and debated, that if we debated long enough, we would probably come up with the exact same system that Riot came up with. But
I hard disagree with that. There's a big disagreement coming out of that.
We just all came in with these ideas, and then as we went, I was like, "Oh yeah, like my idea's wrong," and then like we just kept doing that. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of things that people would like for Riot to change. I'd like to see it go back to best of threes. I would like to see this changed a little bit, but for here and now, I think we're all okay with the teams that are going to Worlds. And so that's exciting. And yeah, let's get back to the Gauntlet a little bit. Maybe a little quicker run through. But yeah, so I thought the game, not game 2, but like the second day, Clutch Gaming versus CLG was especially exciting because they just did a best of 5. They just faced each other. It was an incredible series, and so we knew we had another good one coming up, and so I was really excited for that one. And then I thought it still turned out to be a pretty good series. Not quite as exciting, but
I thought CLG was kind of underwhelming.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I feel like they didn't look like the same team that played at Detroit. They really did. But to be fair, once again, Clutch Gaming took them to town in the first 2 games of Detroit, and CLG kind of clawed their way back into it, right? And
they won one game that was really close, and then game 4 did not feel all that close. Like I'm going to be honest with you, really excited for CLG CG. It was me. I think I said it as a TSM fan. I thought that would be the best series. Worst series of Gauntlet. You make that argument. In FlyQuest's game that they won, but seemingly stumbled, and they just played them. They should have had the best of anybody. Still didn't do the right bans. Play to their own style at all. Ruin looked like he did in EU. No, I'm sorry, Nick. I don't want to like totally disagree with you.
No, go for it.
Just don't. Really disappointed. I think CLG overall are the best team. I will stick by that in the sense of like I think that they were the 3rd best team this season. I just think they had a bad day. I think they just were not ready for some weird reason because from the second that they played that first game and got absolutely trounced. I mean, they didn't get a single kill, if I remember correctly, in that first game. And that set the tone for me. I was like, it's over. It doesn't even matter. They could go to 5 games. They're still not going to win. Like, when you get beat that badly, to me, I think it's a coaching problem, which I'm sure Chris is probably loving that I'm admitting. And I think it's a mentality problem, which is also on their coach. I think Weldon just got outcoached immensely in that series.
I predicted Clutch Gaming to beat CLG in Detroit. It did not come to fruition. I thought CLG was going to take this series against Clutch because they seem to have like figured them out in a way in the first 3 games, and I guess that was wrong. I was a bit disappointed. Like I said, I thought CLG was the more well-rounded team, but I really think Clutch Gaming played well. Like, I can't fault. Sometimes the other team just plays better than you do, and I really think this was the type of, when you look at Clutch versus CLG is kind of more of, because they're more of the constant team, right? I think there's more of the ebb and flow for how Clutch is playing and how their composition fits their play style. And when Clutch is on the high, they're just better. I think Clutch playing well is better than CLG playing well. And I just thought Clutch played well in the series. So to me, in the game 4 in the series, definitely CLG had an opportunity to, claw back into it, and they just weren't able to pull it out. So, I mean, kudos to Clutch Gaming, because it shows that, not only did they have to prep for FlyQuest in the first game of the Gauntlet, your first series.
FlyQuest, and you know it.
I'm sure they did. Honestly, you can't overlook teams in the Gauntlet. But on top of that, they were able to rebound well off of what happened to them in Detroit. So I give a lot of credit for Clutch for the ability to come out, and because you know CLG was not prepping for FlyQuest at all.
It's probably true.
So I guarantee you that CLG did more prep for, if you had to scale it, right, with how much you did for FlyQuest and how much you did for CLG, Clutch Gaming did way more for FlyQuest than CLG did. So, kudos to Clutch Gaming for that. But it was not the exciting series that I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be a 5-game series where we're going to have something exciting like Detroit, and it just didn't turn out to be that. Yeah,
I feel like we're in a viewing meta where if it's not a reverse sweep, we're disappointed. That's we've had so many 5-game series and so many reverse sweeps where it's like, oh, this is
these boring 3-1.
Yeah, just like a regular, like, oh, they only played 4 games. This is ridiculous. So yeah, and then we moved on to the final hurdle of the gauntlet, which was TSM. I mean, I think we should let Rob take the lead here, the big TSM fan.
Except for today.
No, listen.
That's not a dig.
This is because of my boy Nick over there. I love this hat. This hat is amazing. If TSM had a cool hat like this, I would buy it. Probably.
Yeah, I think all the teams should take note of how cool that hat is. Like, I don't even wear hats, and I almost got one, and I was like, that's real cool.
Dude, this is an incredible one. Listen, here's what I will say. I came in fully expecting TSM to get beat 3-1 or maybe 3-2.
Mm-hmm.
I did, and I think I predicted that as well, whoever it would have been. I said they would have had a better time against Clutch. I know I said that because I was thinking it the whole time they played them. Because they had Clutch's number all up until playoffs. For some weird reason, they just couldn't beat Clutch. But here's what I'll say. I was really proud of the way that TSM played. I didn't realize, and I'm sorry, CLG fans, dude, Zix sometimes just like brain farts. He just forgets how to draft effectively. And I don't understand why all of a sudden he was getting afraid of things like the Akali and everything else. Like, it seemed weird. I kept sitting there and I was like, man, I don't know about this draft. Like, there were times when Sona didn't even get banned. I think it was in game 4. Sona didn't even get banned. I was like, just play Sona Tom Kench. Like, please do something. Like, I think like TSM got cocky, and and truthfully, Spica was. I'm sorry, but Spica was god awful. There are probably 15 junglers in the LCS that are better than Spica. I think there are. If you count like people like Blabber and Onda, like I think those are all better. Rush, right? I'm up to 13 right now. I'm just naming the backups. So listen, I think Spica's probably a great kid. Dardoch, Acadian, and Grig. There you go. So we're past 15 now, boys. But listen,
Dardoch
Spica,
and Grig and Acadian can't be better.
Spica played as best as I think he could have. I think he'll be better eventually. I do think he'll probably be a pretty good. I think this will be a great experience for him.
I mean, I think they kind of set him up to fail. Like, just with, being a young kid with no experience with the team, that's a real hard thing.
He's the third best jungler in that entire organization. So, like, again, I'm gonna say this much louder, so cover your ears. Why is Grig not playing there? If they can't figure it out with Acadian, that's fine. Okay? If Acadian and Sven are button heads, cool. But, dude, none of them disliked Grig. Grig was still in that house and didn't do anything for, like, half a year.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they clearly like Grig. He's a good kid. It's hard not to like him. But if you're going to seriously tell me that Spica is better than Grig, this coaching staff is what lost TSM this whole season. Like, seriously, I cannot express this enough. They couldn't control their players, and this is more of an off-season topic. Spica didn't play well. He did not. He is not the sole reason they lost, but he's pretty close, as bad as that sounds. Because the bot lane kept Cody Sun in check for most of the time. Bjerg was really good in almost every game. And Broken Blade had a really good series. Spica had 0 Drake control. He didn't gank almost ever. And he missed more Sejuani ults than I do in my games.
Yeah, that was a little rough to watch.
I mean, he missed an abnormal amount. And I get it. It's a big stage. He probably was freaking out. But when they went up 2-0, I don't understand. And then you play Skarner in game 5? Like, dude, it's just between Zix and Peter and Spica, they lost that series. Clutch handed it to them. They were clearly not ready to roll, and they got all their stuff banned. And that is my reasoning why I'm afraid of them in Worlds. I still think I agree with Chris. I do think they are going to be a very up or down team, but TSM had the right formula, and any team that was clearly paying attention to that can beat them if they're at least of equal or better talent, or even just a little bit below their talent, because you ban out Kiana and then you ban out Huni, or you don't even ban out Kiana and you ban out Huni and Skarner, and you can win.
But then they bring out Kog'Maw. How great was that?
Dude, that was the Cody Sun special.
That was amazing.
No, the Kog'Maw pick was smart because TSM's draft couldn't punish it.
Yep, that's exactly right. They couldn't dive onto it.
They couldn't punish it at all, and TSM, I don't think they weren't expecting it, obviously.
Yeah.
And by the time they picked it, like, the coaching staff of TSM had to be like this is bad going into it.
Yeah.
Because if the game stayed at all close, they were going to lose.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like there's.
That's so unlike them. They normally play for late game, and they did not have a late game comp, and they didn't have anything that they could beat this Kog'Maw with. So it was.
I think that showed some nice flexibility.
Noticed that. A good jungler would have noticed that though, and sat down in the bot lane instead.
Well, when was the last time we saw Kog'Maw though? Right? Like, I don't think they were expecting it at all. Like, when they were in their draft strategy, they were like.
No, but what I'm saying is once you get in game,
right,
you notice that. There's no way they didn't notice that. We noticed that.
Right? Yeah.
We're not that smart. Well, Nick's probably smart, but.
But then you can't bot, and then you have the mid or the top getting ahead. It's tough. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I don't think that they have the quite the depth of talent or the flexibility of the top two teams. But I think they have some tricks up their sleeves. I think that Huni is pumped to be back at Worlds and is ready to go. I think they can carry from any of the lanes. I'm excited for it. And
I honestly think that a lot of this will come down to group draws.
Which is where our next topic should be.
Honestly. Yeah. So, I think we could save that for another day. But, because, that's a whole hour and a half long topic.
Yeah, let's do a group draw show.
Yeah, I'm good with 100%. I'm 100% good with the group draw show because I think that's so. And we've seen this in the past, right? We've seen this in the past where the group draw, it might be the single most important event of the whole World Championships for LCS teams. And yeah, so if first Clutch has to make it through play-ins, so we have some time to go over and digest all of that, right? But there's a lot to talk about in the group. We spent 30 minutes today talking about spring split finishes and now
and that was good. I think I like that discussion.
So I think we would really be going down the rabbit hole to start the group draw talk today. I think we could do a whole show about that.
Yeah, I don't think I can handle it. It'll get me too excited for Worlds. I have way too long to wait before I can get my Worlds fix.
No, we'll go over that. I think it's important for us to, at least for maybe just even for a minute, to just look at this season as a whole and realize that, it was a pretty good season. I felt like there were a lot of good surprises. I think NA may end up really benefiting from a good offseason. And I can't wait until we go over that. But I the more I've been diving, so I spent too much time looking at free agency and whatnot. It's one of my favorite things about sports and esports. I think team movement and trades and everything, I think, is a really important aspect that esports has not gotten into yet, really. Like it's there, but it's not. And I think we're going to see some really interesting pickups. One of my theoreticals for tomorrow, I'll spoil, is as everybody's talked about, 100 Thieves Bjerg. And when you think about a team with Someday, Amazing, Bjergsen, Bang, and Aframu, that's a team that can challenge TL and C9, right? Like that's a team talent-wise that can.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I want to, like I said, I want to end on, I think this year was really good. It's gonna be interesting. We're getting Immortals back next year. Yeah. We're getting Dignitas back next year, and then we're getting whatever the hell happens to Echo Fox next year. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm sure next week we'll probably be really diving into plans. When do they start again? It's like early October, is that right?
Sounds right.
Play-ins group draw, why do I think it's like the 15th?
Well, because we still have the LEC still has their gauntlet, and so does
play-ins draw show. No, that's MSI. Let's see here.
That should be right. Play-ins draw show should be right after EU finishes up, if I remember correctly.
Play-ins start October 2nd through 5th.
Okay. So, yeah. So we'll have this week, we'll have LEC play-ins, which should be a really fun play-ins for those of you who don't watch the LEC. You should 110% give it a look, because there's going to be some fun stuff. We know G2 and Fnatic are both going, but I believe it's going to end up being Schalke as the... It's either Schalke or Origin. I think it's Schalke is going to end up being the boss at the end.
No faith in Splice?
No, I'm saying they're the boss right now.
The boss. Oh, okay.
And then I think it's Origin, Splice, and then weirdly Rogue, because Rogue made the unbelievable run in summer, and they're a scary team. They're a scary young team. So should be fun. So make sure you check that out if you're watching this, because that Gauntlet run is going to be an absolute just doozy. With Rogue and Spice playing each other to start it all off. So I'm hyped.
Just Rogue and Splice? So I thought they were doing something weird this year, where it's like.
Oh no, they're doing something different. It's the LEC regional finals will determine the second and third year.
Yeah. So like
Okay,
Fnatic's
so
already
Fnatic,
in
the
because
boss.
they might be the 2 or the 3 seed.
Yep, and then so it's Origin,
Spice, and Schalke that are the 3 battling it out for the second one.
I would have loved to have seen Rogue, dude. That team is really good, actually. They're interesting. They're really interesting.
But what was their record overall, Robert?
It was bad. It was bad.
No, but I'm with you though. I would have rather seen Rogue, right? Because they did well at the end of the season.
Well, there's a difference between making moves and doing well and the meta changing, and Rogue just totally redid their team.
Quick. LEC regional finals predictions. Starting with you, Nick.
Here, I got it pulled up for you, Nick. You could give it a look.
I don't know. I mean.
I don't know. I didn't know if you had it up or not, but.
I mean, I wasn't prepared for this.
Just quick. Doesn't have to. I don't need analysis here. I just want.
I'm afraid I'm gonna say Rogue. Because of all that. No, I've.
I think you'll lose that one.
Yeah. all the hype. I was an OG Origin fan.
Oh no.
And I was afraid that they were going to break my heart again when they came back, but they've been looking good. Yeah, I'll make that call.
You're going to have Origin run the whole thing?
Yeah, why not?
Oh, snap.
What, because teams can't run the whole gauntlet?
No, they can. They can. I like it. Spicy.
But Origin looked real bad at the end of the season.
Roberto, what's your prediction here?
Okay, here, I'll give you my full prediction. I think it's going to be a 3-1 Splice for the first one over Origin. And then I think it'll be a 3-1 Schalke to make it to Worlds over Splice. Schalke looked really good. Splice is a good team, but I think Schalke just proved they're better, and Splice got wrecked by Rogue. They got 3-0'd. So I think Schalke goes in, and then Fnatic, I think, sweeps them 3-0. Fnatic is clearly the second best team in that region, and I don't think it's that close. So I think it'll be G2 making it, Fnatic as the 2 seed, and then Schalke as the 3 seed, which I'm excited for because I actually really like the Schalke roster.
Did you see the Cold's not playing in the?
Yeah, which is weird. He's apparently sick.
I don't know.
They said it was for health reasons. So I don't know if something went down or what's going on.
Maybe he caught a cold.
I'm gonna go Splice over Origin. Just because the cold thing bothers me. I don't think Origin
can win without cold. I mean, this is even a worse situation than TSM.
Hey, wait. Nick told us they're gonna run the gauntlet. Okay.
My apologies, Nick.
I think didn't we talk about this in Detroit, where if you make the crazy prediction and you're wrong, no one cares.
But you're gonna punish for it.
If they do it, I win.
You're like a genius if they do it. Oh, he was just fooling around with that Origin prediction until they do it. I'm gonna just make it spicy and say Splice beats Schalke, even though I think Schalke is the better team. I'm just going with my boy Yamato Cannon, and then I think Fnatic crushes them in the finals.
Not even the coach of that team anymore.
I thought he was the coach
of Vitality, bro.
Oh, I'm wrong. My bad. Splice. I'm going.
What is this?
I'm gonna give you a better reason.
This is why it's not the LEC Weekly, because I would dominate, because I actually watch it on a regular
I'm going with Splice because they have the cooler looking logo. And
which logo would beat which logo?
And they do have a better logo, without a doubt.
No.
Listen,
Yeah,
man,
I'm going Splice over
standard.
Schalke. I'm not okay. Schalke to me is just a team of like has-beens. I don't know. That sounds bad, but
Dude, are you sure you know what you're talking about right now?
okay.
Dude?
Trick
That does sound a
has
little
seen
bad.
better
Odawame's
days.
been great this
Ignar
year.
has seen better
Trick's been great.
days.
Upset's one of the best AD carries in the world, and Abadage is a brand new player.
Oh yeah, Odawamne seen better days.
He had a great split. What are you talking about?
He's still seen better days though. Ignar's seen better days too. Ignar at once was like the best.
Oh man! All right, we gotta wrap this up.
I'm dying right now. Finish your prediction. Shit, it's Fnatic winning at the end. We know that.
I think
Xerxes gonna pull out
realistically,
some
it
crazy garbage like TF Jungle.
Did you see that he's actually available? He's gonna be a free agent.
That doesn't surprise me, honestly.
Interesting.
I think
TSM
Xerxes.
Xerxes?
No, I don't think that at all.
I don't think so either. That'd be interesting.
What about Dardock? TSM Dardock? How do you feel about
No
that?
thanks.
all right, now we're just saying names. All right, everyone needs to go to bed.
All right. Yes. Thank you once again for joining us here on the LCS Weekly, where we have a plan coming into the episode and it falls apart 5 minutes into it.
Because Nick likes to like sit there and make these crazy predictions, and and then also be like super smart, and then he goes, "Oh, what question will get them really going?"
I should have taken advantage. I should have gotten some ice cream or something. Like, I just set you two off on that task, and you just went for like 25 minutes. So I need to take advantage of that next time. But all right. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining. We will be back. Are we discussing group draws next show? Do you think?
I think
know.
For Worlds.
Groups.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. We'll have to look
Maybe
at
we
this.
should just take a look at the play-in teams for Worlds, because I do think that's a pretty good topic to go
Yeah.
over. I'm going to try to do some research this week on the Worlds teams. That was one of the things I wanted to do. I want to have better knowledge for the
Dude,
first
I
round.
love play-ins. I love watching teams from other regions play. That's one of my favorite parts because I think it's exciting, it's unpredictable. Just like I told you that I thought Clutch Gaming was a cool team and fun to watch. I love watching play-ins.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, great. Well, thank you both as always, and we'll be back for more heated discussion next week.